passed before, during the hurricane, and after at home. And when everything it was from 11 and night, right?
Yeah.
Till 11 at night of the other day. So everything, I think it lasted a day. It was awful.
No service. Yo creo que eso es peor de que se vaya.
Even though it seemed so awful at that time, we thought we were going to be just 1 month without power. That's because that's what usually happens. When everything happened, that we go outside, we see what it really had made, we were kind of, oh, wait, what's this? Well, I expected to see trees on the street. I expect to see houses turn apart, because that's what we've seen in past hurricanes. What I didn't even imagine was this pole, but the cement ones broken but in pieces, and there was not just one, all of them, from my house to the highway. I'll say from 170 were turned down, and all the power lines were in the floor, and that was very scary. It was like, whoa! It was like if a bomb would explode in Puerto Rico. So, and then we were like, okay, maybe it's because I live in the center of the island, and well, maybe it's because we live in the mountains. Maybe the metropolitan area is not like this. So when we managed to go to the city, we figured that it was the same. It was all turned down, like it was a mess. So that's when we realized what has done María to Puerto Rico. And to get out of my house, we had to cut like I don't know how many trees to get out of my house to the main street. And when we got to the main street, we saw that even the government, they couldn't even handle that much of disaster. And people were like, if you have a I don't know how to say it in English, but the thing that to cut the trees, chainsaw. If you have a chainsaw in your house, you will bring it. You will help the government to clean all the, and so everyone just united. So to clean and to try to make Puerto Rico again a living place, because it was just a mess. I do is social media. So if I don't have internet, I cannot
Work?
I cannot work. I cannot make money. I just so we had savings. I think we managed to get a couple of months, and we're like, yeah, we can do a couple of months. Yeah, it's okay. So before pressing the red button, so we managed the first month, and then we bought a power generator, and it was kind of good. And by the middle of the second month, I had, because all the Saturdays, since there was no water, me and my neighbor, he had this pickup truck, and he has this water tank, really good, big one. So we went all Saturdays morning at like 7 a.m. till maybe 9 p.m. all day to get water for all the neighbors. And then we managed to go like maybe 8 to 10 trips just to that day, but we have to do a really long line. Anyway, so in one of those days, I caught myself cooking, and I had some oil, and it just burned my hand right here. And when I was getting water, I had an infection, and this hand it was like this big, and she was like, no, this is just cannot keep on happening. We have to move. And we're like, oh yeah, but where? Like, we are in Puerto Rico. Where we want to move? And we're like, I have a sister that lives in Altamonte, and she's like, why don't we go 2 weeks just for vacation? Let's just clear our minds, and let's see what happens. There was a time we had to get back. I don't know why. We were like, because our house was still there, and we have to go back. Let's just buy our tickets. We went to Starbucks, and it was God. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in God. So just by the time we went to Starbucks, and we sat down with the computer, turn it on, and try to buy the tickets to get back to Puerto Rico. By that time, we have a local newspaper in Puerto Rico, and they have an app, and it just popped up an app on Leyra's phone that says we were literally in the internet just to buy the tickets, and it was bling, bling, and when we saw the latest phone, it says there's a blackout power, first blackout power in Puerto Rico. All the island is back when María hit the island, and we were like, bam, what are we gonna do? And then we got serious of staying here. And then we're like, okay, if we are gonna stay here, we have to decide it together, and we have 2 daughters. So like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? That day right there, we decided, okay, let's stay. No matter what, let's just figure out how can we do to stay. And then what we've been doing is I've been traveling to Puerto Rico to make business and maintain the girls and Leyra here.
¿Cuál es tu nombre? Paola. Un aplauso por favor para Paola.
this right here is that hill right there. So that was wow. I've never seen those pictures.
That's what. Oh.
That is a very known place, like well-known place. Like they clean up really quick, and they start. That was one of the first businesses that started doing business then. But look,
Sick table.
they were all messed up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can Google it. It's really late.
Una de las ayudas, llegó un helicóptero a mi barrio. Y estaba peor, podemos descargar el helicóptero. Y me llama el copiloto, que fuera donde el piloto.
Okay, an airplane of help from the United States, military, landed on the baseball field where he lives. So, because he's one of the leaders from the committee, he started getting all the help to start on giving the people that most need it.
Right.
But then the co-pilot, they said, "Oh, the co-pilot is calling you. He wants to talk to you."
Y cuando voy en el piloto, es un amigo mío. Y me dice, ¿qué tú quieres? Dime qué tú quieres. Y yo, wow, oh my God. Y la mano, ¿qué tú necesitas? Y yo, bueno, pues agua. Necesitamos de todo lo que tenga. Bueno, ok, one moment. O sea, como que, y ahí, él mandó a virar un helicóptero que iba para Caguas.
When he goes, he sees the co-pilot and he recognizes him as a friend of his. So then, because at that moment it was really hard on the island, and then he was like, "What do you need? Just tell me what do you need?" And it's like, "Well, we need everything but water, mostly for the sick people." And what his friend did was there was another helicopter nearby. And he made him turn around
Y la con ayuda.
and drop those waters for his community. So, but he's a funny guy, but he's always helping people. Like no matter what you need, he's always like going for it and not worrying about getting something out of it. So that's always what I respect of him. Is that he could be funny, he could be maybe hard sometimes, and he has a real heart. And, he was willing to help people do whatever. It's like what can I help you with? I don't have money, but what can I help you with? So it's something positive of him. And in his community, he's well known and well respected. People are really in love with him in a way because he helped the community. So every time you go, I call him the mayor because it's like even in Facebook they made it like prank of saying he's gonna run for mayor on his town. He was like, "Oh, this is a joke. Don't even joke with this."
Como que nos dejaron solo, como que, mira, me voy como que dejaron ustedes ahí como que.
He's saying he felt. He's saying he felt like of the Puerto Ricans that left the island, including me. He's saying that he felt like we let them down because we left and like,
Y lo que, y para mí que me va a traducir bastante.
I'm not translating it.
La vida se trata de retos y de cosas como prueba de sobrevivir.
Life is about survival and a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
So after the disaster, there was a lot of struggle. But I say always
everything is individual. Like, not because Mercantan doesn't live in the island means that he's less Puerto Rican than I am here suffering the consequences of anything. So I see it that way, but there's some people that see it his way, and I respect it.
College tour for the first time. My first time working with Alex was a college tour for all the island, and I was at the opening act. Then when I was working with him, I started giving him some suggestions, advice.
He's always giving advice.
Yeah,
you should do this, you should do that. We were like, yeah.
So I told all I know to Alex every time, every day of the year, and Alex was always like, it sounds great, let me ask Leyra. And I was okay with that because I know Leyra is a very important part. I mean, Leyra is the part. Leyra is the main thing. So I start thinking I don't have to work with Alex, I have to work with Leyra, because everything I told Alex is gonna be a Leyra's decision. So let me get known Leyra. I talk professionally with Leyra, and then Leyra started telling Alex that I think that is this way, that I was a great guy, I was the guy. Then when Maria happened in Puerto Rico, Alex went to the United States. He have it's not a meltdown. It's a change.
And I was planning to quit doing videos and stuff and comedy presentations.
Yeah.
Because I had that business.
I'm always
when it went down,
yeah.
I had to get back on track. So I called him and I was like, dude, I need your help.
And I was always looking Alex from Facebook, YouTube.
And he was always going like,
outside.
Dude,
I wasn't.
You need to focus. He was like, dude, you need to focus. What's wrong with you? And I was like, no, I'm okay.
I was following Alex like a fan. I was just looking at him and thinking about what he can do to be great, to continue being great, because he's always great, but continue that. He have changed a lot. He took a lot of decisions after Maria. A lot of the fastest decision I ever seen, and I say, Alex, calm down. You have to think about something here. And then Alex visited me in Puerto Rico, and he was like,
That's when it happened.
Okay, Tasha, let's make it happen.
That's when it happened.
And finally, after like 5-6 years of knowing the show,
he ended up being the manager.
Leyra told me, we want you to work with us. And I all right. I say, you know what? I'm not working with you. I'm gonna help you.
Since I met Toche, he's always been like so positive and always helping us, and let's do this, and he's always giving us ideas on how can we improve our material, and we've always appreciated that. Today, literally, we're recording this the 20, like right now it's the
of September 20 is 1 year from the Hurricane Maria. So this day, this is right now is 9:51 a.m. This time right here, 9:51, for me it was the worst part. So a year ago, and now look where we're standing. A year ago, I never thought I was gonna live in Florida. A year ago, I thought it was gonna last a week or two without power. A year ago, I never knew this was gonna be like this, and my island was gonna be like, and all the things that had happened until this day. Look how it looks. So we still kind of struggling a little bit. But till this day, if you talk to any one of my neighbors, they're happy. And they're thankful for being alive, for having a family, and getting to provide and to their family. So it's like we're not as good as we used to be, like great and with all the things that we used to have. But we're grateful with what we have. And so I enjoy living in Florida right now, and we are now able to move back to Puerto Rico because my house here, thank God, has power and has water, and everything's going well. You see, like here, how it is. But like I told my wife, I was like, let's just try it. Let's try it in the States. Let's try and see how it goes with the girls. We want them to learn English, learn how to speak it, learn how to interact with different nationalities. Mm-hmm. For me, that's very important. I don't want them to always interact with Puerto Ricans. Talk with the Cuban, see how they eat, what they eat, what are the manners and stuff. Same with the Mexicans and with the whites and with the blacks. And when you grow up, like I can maybe get along with you easily because I used to live in the US. And I had friends that were white. I had friends that were black. I had friends that were Mexican. And when I'm with a Mexican, I know how to talk with them. When I'm with someone that's white, I know how to talk with them because I used to have friends that were white. Mm-hmm. So I want them to learn that specifically because I know at the end, when they grow up, it's gonna help them. Maybe for the job, I don't know. But I think it's gonna help them. It has helped me a lot. I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the decision of moving to the US. And I love to try myself. It's not easy. It's not gonna be easy. But I feel like if I come back here, to live here, which is a place that I love, I give up. But I don't want to say that I give up on something that could be great. I'm trying.
For me, it was I see my mom every week, and it's not going to be that easy. And I called her, and she only said to me that do what you need to do. I start crying at the phone, and my sisters were so sad because for my daughters, they are like second mothers to my daughter. So it was really hard for us.
My daughters, since they were in the same school, from kindergarten to when we went here, everybody knows them. So my oldest daughter,
with the same friends since they were.
And my oldest daughter, she's like the the party girl back in the island, right? So when we moved here, she was no one, and that really hit her. And she's like, she told me like, Dad, I can't make friends. And I'm like, just try. And she's like, yeah, but some of them, they speak English, they don't speak Spanish. I don't know how to communicate with them. And the ones that speak Spanish, they're not Puerto Ricans. It's difficult. We don't have even though we speak the same language, we don't have the same culture and jokes and way of doing friendship. Let's say it that way. So it was kind of hard for her, like for 3 months, 4 months, maybe.
And for the grades too.
Oh, she went down with the grades. We had to talk with her. We managed to tell positive things, so she would like get in love with school again, because she usually loves school. She likes school, and the little one does too. But our oldest daughter, she was the one maybe that struggled the most, because of she was a party girl in Puerto Rico, and here she was like, from one day to another she was no one, and she couldn't do things that she used to do there, because here she just didn't know anyone. And the little one that we thought that she was gonna be the real struggle, she was like nothing. Leyra, she cried a lot, and I tried to manage. I didn't want her to see me that I was sad, because I knew that if she was sad and I was sad, this was over. So I managed to stay up and positive, and let's do it, man. Look and start looking the positive things that are here in Florida for us. One of them is security, schools, and the facility we have. So that's what I've been telling her. Like, look, here we have this advantage that we don't do in Puerto Rico. I just want to be real. At the same time, I love my island, and I think it's a beautiful place. But for us right now, I think we figure out that if we live here, we can manage to do some other things that we couldn't do in the island. And this has nothing to do with Puerto Rico being bad or good. It's just business stuff. One of our main things in social media, it's we promote every brands that are interested in doing business with us, to promote it in Puerto Rican people. And back in the island, we always tend one of the top things for us to promote is food. I don't know why, but we tend to sell food very good. We even have friends that have restaurants. We visit them, and just to favor, to help them, we posted, I ate this, I had this, it was great, I ate it with blah 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 blah. And then the other week we went to the same restaurant, and they were like, wow, you don't know what you did. Like, the picture that you got like that weekend, it was just gone. I had to order so many plates more because of the picture that you put on social media. And we knew that if we open some restaurant or a food truck, it will be good, because if we can sell other people's food, imagine if we have one of our own. So in business, it's a plus. Why the US is better for us, business talking, here, Puerto Rican people maybe tend to miss the flavor, the taste of Puerto Rican food, the season. And so we went back to Puerto Rico. So one of our friends, he's a chef, he and Leyra sat down and managed to get this recipe of what it is now, our food truck. So if I get a food truck like the one I have in Tampa right now in Puerto Rico, people are going like, this tastes like my neighbor's food. But if I put it here, then like, this tastes like Puerto Rican food. So it's an advantage for us. We're selling Puerto Rican people, Puerto Rican typical food, food that they miss in the US. with the flavor they miss in the US. So for us, it's a win, because that's what they are. They want. We want that, and we managed to see that opportunity and go for it. And so far, it has been going great.
El mejor food truck en lo mejor de Tampa Bay es la fritanga de Toñita.
I think every person is a different story. I think that I can only speak for myself, and the way that I made this happen was by working hard, as I used to do in Puerto Rico. So it's just a matter of how I used to do things in Puerto Rico, and then how do I make it here in Florida, which is different in some cases. Trying to do business here is so different from trying to do it in Puerto Rico, but it's not impossible. So we had to adjust because the system here is so totally different. But I don't argue. It's just it's a new game. So I just needed to learn how to play it, and we're still learning how to play this game. We tried to put this in 2 places before we got here, and we received 2 no's. The second one, my wife was crying like a baby. Well, we both were crying because we were like, oh, we're trying to make this happen. Why can't we? But there are some rules in different counties, and we have to respect them. So we moved out, and we try to reach some other places that were flexible for our business. And then we're here. We're stuck in Tampa. My relationship to the American dream. The American dream is not free. Let me just start with it. You gotta work hard. And I think I haven't made it yet. I'm trying to get there. But I think the American dream is I'll say it that if you work, you will get what you want. But if you work very hard, you will get what you want and more. So it's as much as you want to work, but you gotta work. If you don't work, it's not gonna happen. It's not like I'm here and the American dream. Where is it? Where is it? So you gotta work for it, and you gotta invent it, and you gotta reinvent your thing to try to make it happen.
When I opened my food truck in Tampa, people were getting in, and I was talking to them. I'm like, do you know this place in uptown Tampa, which is a Puerto Rican place? Oh, that's a great place. And they're like, why are you promoting other Puerto Rican places? And I'm like, so? Because I want to give you some other options too, to get some real, Puerto Rican food. And they're like, yeah, but I don't recommend you doing that because now I want to go there too. And maybe you're not an option next time. And I'm like, I don't care. But there's still a Puerto Rican is inside your options. Yeah. So I don't see it like it's a loss for me. I'm helping my community.
Yeah.
If I you're gonna go there, and then maybe 2 weeks from now you're gonna come back here because you already know that to me. It's not all about the money or buy. Come here and try to waste your money here.
Right.
So
and maybe in the restaurant they don't have fritangas de Toñita anyway.
Yeah, no, they don't.
You see.
And they won't be as tasty as mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So you really don't, you just bump into these circumstances and try to overcome. That's your attitude?
Yeah, but still, one of my challenges is the language barrier.
Yeah.
We Puerto Ricans speak very fast, and I try to go as fast as I do in Spanish, in English, and I get and I get struggle.
Yeah.
That's one of my.
Or when you came in before we started the podcast, you didn't know if you should shake people's hands or kiss them on the. Yeah.
Because I don't know if I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And in Puerto Rico, when you say hi to a woman, it's with a
kiss on the cheek. Yeah.
And here you gotta shake the hands because it's kind of disrespectful to kiss someone that you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I go is this Puerto Rican or not? Because I don't want to be disrespectful with Puerto Ricans, but I don't want to be also disrespectful with
other cultures.
Yes.
So it's the cultural nuances, right?
Yeah, but I would say that one of my biggest that I already mentioned it. It's I think if there should be a way of teaching this Puerto Rican, and not only Puerto Ricans, Latin people, how to make business, how to approach, how is this business thing in the U.S. That'd be very interesting.
We do that. Well, Urbander does that. When the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, when María hit Puerto Rico, I knew that the talleres were gonna have a certain level of importance. The talleres de bienvenida, basically it's a one-day workshop for about 4 hours. We get together and we're able to present these workshops free of charge to folks that are recently arrived to our region about how to adapt to their new life and their new reality here in Central Florida. And then also the cultural differences between mainstream America and Latino community or culture, because there are a lot of cultural clashes that happen in the workplace and in our daily lives, really, that can be prevented if people were just more culturally competent. And so when Puerto Ricans started arriving, the first thing is housing. Where are we going to fit all these people? And of course, our main concern was, okay, so we have relatives, we are a large extended family, but at the end of the day, their homes don't have the capacity to fit, the large amount of family members and friends that were coming from the island. So housing was critical, and then access to the social services and the support that they needed to be able to start establishing themselves here. I think there was a lot of trauma too because of the experience that they had, and I think that's something that wasn't addressed immediately. I think now, a year and a half later, people are starting to invest in providing some kind of therapy and support from a mental health care perspective. It is my honor to introduce Dr. Howard Rodriguez-Mori.
This was really like a bombshell. People were not expecting, first they were not expecting the hurricane to hit, and then they were not expecting the strength of this hurricane, right? So there was a major issue here. And then the trauma of losing the property, losing the sense of security, uncertainty of the future. Will I get a job? How do I get money? Where do I get food? All that kind of things. That's a trauma by itself, right? Especially if you have kids, right? So this is not about one kind of trauma. It's actually a combination, a multidimensional aspect of the trauma that people experience. And not only that, the trauma, you experience the trauma when it happens, but then when it gets internalized, there are some psychological effects and physical effects that will come for years to come. That's the post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, that you're familiar with, right? That's the internalization of these effects, and it may not be apparent at first, but eventually people are going to experience some psychological effects or reacting to some things. And the worst thing is that this is something that is going to be inside people for years to come. According to the research that I was looking at, up to 49% of the people that experience a hurricane will develop PTSD. If we go by the official figure that there are 130,000 displaced Puerto Ricans from Maria in the United States, and you count that about 50%, or a little less than 50%, will be affected by this, we're talking about 60,000 cases. We're not talking about 1 or 2 cases. We're talking about a community that in one way or another, they're going to experience the effect of PTSD, whether they internalize it, develop phobias, or develop alcoholism or dependence on substances. There are different aspects. As a matter of fact, the list is so huge, 8 pages long, of the many things that people can experience with PTSD.
But immediately it was housing, clothing, education for the kids. I try to create some sense of normalcy for the kids, and food, and just everything that has to do with be able to support your family, getting a job, all of that. Then the Girellys, I mean, these folks came with nothing. You know, they literally were stripped from their reality, you know, and then had to start anew in an area that, yeah, they might have visited or had heard or had family, you know, that could tell them, but it's a different thing to come to this new reality, especially when the region had nothing really set in place to receive such a large amount of people.
In a span between 2006 and 2014, a large percentage, I believe it was up to 4% of the total population of Puerto Ricans left the island within those 8 years, about 4%, right? And when the hurricane came, within a span of, I would say 5 months, another 4%, just within 4 months. Since 2004, Orlando actually became the #1 destination. No longer New York, that was for almost 90 years. New York, the #1 destination. In 2004, Orlando became the #1 destination for Puerto Ricans. What happens if in Puerto Rico another hurricane hits and then you get another 100,000 people here? Did you learn from the process? Did you develop a new procedure? And I'm so surprised that everybody said, oh, we didn't think about that. We should actually create a procedure with the best practices for the next time.
The data doesn't lie. 1 out of every 4 children across the nation is Latino. 1 out of every 2 babies that's born here in Orlando today is Hispanic. So this is inevitable and evident that we're growing in numbers, okay? The impact is gonna be there. The question is, do we continue begging for attention? Mírame, yo tengo valor. I have purchasing power. I'm upwardly mobile. Okay? Or do we invest in workforce development, financial literacy? To all those communities in that beautiful mapa, ¿verdad? Where those populations are in red, right? To edify them and elevate them and have them reach a position of influence lo más pronto posible, as soon as possible. That is the key. With that, they will gain access to healthcare and the mental health care treatment that they need, to housing, not rentals, not affordable housing, no. Coño, que se compren la casa que quieran. Okay? Okay? And they will be able to also be involved in their children's lives on a day-to-day. And so that's our effort. We're working with the newcomers, con los que hablan español, okay, trying to integrate them. Cultural competency training, so they understand how to navigate the BS of the corporate sector and reach those places of influence. And when they do, to remember where they came from and to give back and mentor. Because the idea and the end goal is that with the Latino community and our values, okay, of the good of the group, okay, that we're able to break this cycle, and that when we reach power, yes, one second, that the oppressed doesn't become the oppressor. That's the goal.
Yes. A lot of people come here and have come even before Maria, right? And when they bump into these obstacles in terms of putting food on the table, right? Something as basic as that. You know, they either have one of two routes. Either they go and work for the corporate sector, for a company, become part of the workforce and try to advance, you know, considering that, you know, this is the state of the living poor and the wages are very low, right? But then there are others that take that leap of faith, right? And are resourceful and are able to, what little savings they have, you know, invest in what they think, you know, they have a better bet at. And that's entrepreneurship. I see that you have it in your blood. Have you been able to either see or advise other people that you bumped into? Like, what is your network looking like now here in Central Florida?
I always tell people that they're like, oh, if you could do it, I can do it. I'm like, yeah, anything can do it. Like, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And if I can make it, anyone can make it. So every time I try to give advice to someone, I always tell them the same thing. Can you manage to swipe floors and do the hard work?
Right.
If you fail, sometimes people go like, oh no, I don't want to go back there. Then don't do it.
Right.
But if you think you can manage to, like, I'm gonna
Let's start from scratch. Let's start from like nada.
Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
And if I fail, I'll go to McDonald's and work.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like,
and you'll start all over again.
Yeah,
Right?
I did it in February.
Yeah.
So that's what I always tell people, because I know there are some people that they cannot manage losses.
Yes.
And if you cannot manage, it's not bad. It's just how we are.
Yeah.
If you cannot manage, I wouldn't recommend you, because this is a very hard job that we have, because we lose every day and we win every day. So there's some days that you will win and there's some days that you will lose. And if you don't know how to lose, that's when
you're screwed.
Yeah. But you gotta know how to lose.
Yes.
And if you take it and then you take responsibility on it, and they're like, yeah, we lost everything, but we're gonna make it again.
Yeah.
And if you have that in mind, you can make it.
The American dream does exist for Puerto Ricans that live here in the U.S., and we're actually changing what that definition of the American dream is. For us, it's being able to see the entire family flourish, and entire family means extended family. It also means your neighbor that you've been living next to for the last 20 years. Like all my neighbors on this block, all friends. And so it's looking out for your sister, your brother, and I mean that in the bigger sense of the words, right? And to make sure that our kids reach higher levels of education. Education is critical, and we know it. Like all parents are hyper-focused on pouring themselves into taking their kids to a higher level of education, because we feel that that's the passport. Like it's almost like a ticket, right, to success. And so, quite frankly, having the space to have big family gatherings and to be able to splurge on the people that you love, that's what I feel is the definition of success, not only for Puerto Ricans, but I feel like for Latino families and for most people of color, is to, or collective societies, right, is to be able to share and indulge and celebrate together as often as possible, you know, and it might sound stereotypical, like a big fiesta, but yeah, we'll find any excuse to get together, break bread, and throw a big party, you know, because at the end of the day, that's where we find most joy, and we feel that that really is what life is all about, is to be able to create those memories and to share in that success.
I've been living the American dream since I was born. I was born in America. Puerto Rico is part of the, of America. Like, America is not the US. It's the whole thing. I've been living the American dream, which is I have food in my plate, and I have my family with me. Because my goal is not to get millionaire. If I get to be, I'm not saying I won't say, oh yes, give it to me. But my goal is to have a good time with my family. Eat. That's what Puerto Ricans do. We eat. We love food, and just to have a good time with friends and family. That's my goal.